Hi everyone, it's Yvette Blowitz from Spaitgirl.com and welcome to the Spaitgirl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today in this online audio space and with our very special guest, and her name is Frances Verbeek, and she is the founder of the Happi Empire, which offers inspiration and tools for mindful living. Hello, Fran. How are you? I'm so excited you're here. Now, first of all, you know, I'm a massive fan of your self-care daily playbook, which I have.
Thank you.
Picked up this copy actually in the Brisbane Dimmicks in the city, in the bookstore, because we celebrate here at Spaitgirl across the community Self-Love Sunday, Self-Care Daily, and I loved your book because it has so many amazing tools, so much to do in here. You ask so many questions, especially about mind, body, spirit, deep dives, inspiration. But before we get into your self-care daily playbook, can you tell all of our Spaitgirl podcast listeners who are tuning in right around the world a little bit about who you are and more about your journey?
Sure. So I'm Fran and I run the Happi Empire. And my passion is to design mindful tools to help you process life and kind of basically undo the ego mindset to reveal your natural happy state that's just below the surface. And I do that with basically my thing is to create really practical tools to kind of translate spiritual wisdom and make sure that you can use it in your everyday life so it actually has an effect on you and changes your life and actually helps you process the challenges and suffering that we all come up against. So I've got a range of products. My first product that I started off with was, it's called a Happy Cards, and it's a little deck of inspiration cards, affirmations and spiritual wisdom and questions to get you thinking. And then I went on to create the self-care playbook, which you just were talking about, and a gratitude journal, which is similar to the self-care playbook, but it's all about gratitude and kind of helping you create a positive mindset. And I've written a book called Boost, which is fully illustrated as well. So I've got a few tools like that. And also this year, I've also starting to create online courses. So my first online course is called the Dream Fuel Retreat, and it helps you kind of focus in on what you really want to do, what your soul really wants to do, and then create a plan and make it happen and process all the resistance that comes up around it. So yeah, that's the Happi Empire and what I am passionate about.
Now tell me, for everyone who's tuning in, what inspired you to want to, you were an illustrator doing your websites and things, but what really was the turning point for wanting to learn yourself more about spirituality, but then turning it into a practical way where anybody who doesn't really know anything about spirituality could take? Because some time ago, even when I grew up, spirituality was a little bit woo-woo. It was really like difficult to kind of comprehend or understand or use in a really day-to-day practical way. But what kind of like got you into really being passionate and interested? And because I saw on your main website, you spend a lot of time reading spirituality books, doing a lot of your own personal development yourself, and you're creating tools to help other people with spirituality. But what was that turning point?
So there was a turning point, a very specific turning point, because I was not into spirituality in my teens. I was an unconscious teen. And then when I turned 19, basically my brother had gone on this spiritual retreat course. It was called a course in metaphysics, and he came back a changed man. He all of a sudden had this basically intuitive wisdom, and he was helping me with a problem. It was actually my first breakup. I got dumped. So, you know, everyone probably knows how horrific that feels. And he was just spouting all this wisdom, and Mum and I were like, what? So we had to go on the course ourselves. So Mum and I went on this metaphysics course, and there were actually 3 that we did over maybe 4 years. They were just a week long each, but it was an intense retreat, and it completely shifted our perspective about the point of life, what life is, what the ego mindset is, what spirit is. So energy healing. So it basically gave us all these tools and this totally different perspective. And it blew my mind so much that, you know, it gave me so much joy and happiness and tools to process anything that could hurt me in life, that I just wanted to share it. And it was very spiritual, but because I came from that place of like thinking spirituality was creepy and weird in my teens, I thought, but I then had that really real experience of it, what it actually really is, this shining ball of glorious light, that I wanted to get everyone to that shining ball of glorious light, but in a really practical, non-spiritual way. Because like I was the same as you at the time when I first found out about all that stuff. Everything had like religious angel statues on them, or velvet, or crystal balls, you know, all that kind of old-fashioned stuff.
Yes, I remember that because I even remember when Oprah Winfrey was on TV talking about spirituality, and I was a young child, like the Aussie men and my dad and even my auntie's like, oh, don't let them know that they're talking about spirits.
Wow.
No, because like that was like a taboo sort of topic, because people would think they're quite mad talking about spirituality and new age and spirits and things. And it was sort of the Oprah Winfrey show was kind of bringing this higher consciousness and these different thoughts, and hence Louise Hay was on there talking about how your thoughts create your life and your world, and how we have so much more power on how we can feel based on our thoughts. But it was very much about angels and people who sorely had passed over, and people talking to, you know, someone who once was there. And, you know, it was just so like woo-woo. But I'm finding now it's completely gone the opposite way, where it's just becoming like during COVID-19, this whole spirituality is just about mind, body, spirit, like how you're feeling, thoughts. So it's taken some time, like it's taken a good maybe 30 years where it's becoming more practical. But when you started your Happi Empire, even your cards back in 2004, it was still very woo-woo then.
It was super
woo-woo. That was like, that was a long time ago woo-woo. So, I mean, you were sort of at the brink of that pioneering change, where it's becoming more practical.
Yeah. And like, I think things have happened in that last, you know, is it 20 years, or I think roughly 20 years, isn't it? Like yoga has become a massive thing in the West. And it's been a total gateway to all this other stuff. It's been a gateway to like mindfulness meditation. And now that's really normal, isn't it? Like businessmen do mindfulness meditation. And people like, you know, Gabrielle Bernstein, she's made a lot of really woo-woo stuff, really like cool and stylish.
Yes.
There's just a lot of awesome people that have come through and opened the door for us all.
Yes.
And like, yeah, so I had the same passion as them, I guess. I wanted to bring the light to everyone in a really practical way. And like, funnily enough, the first time I created Happi cards, my first little inspiration deck, I made the box black because I just wanted them to be black and plain and with like bright colors on them, because I didn't want it to be anything to do with any like spiritual denomination or anything like that. So I wanted to make them really, they're white now, much more pretty, and they each have a mandala on. But yeah, so it's definitely changed, and which is fantastic because we get access to goods.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely changed because even like the meditation, as soon as a scientist said like this can help your mental health and well-being, your overall health and well-being, as soon as I find something gets scientific backing, you know, people are going, oh, we can accept this now because they've done these amount of tests and it's good for your health. Even though I think the yogis had been telling them for centuries and everything. But I agree, everything's becoming like your book, the self-care daily playbook is pink, everything's turquoise. My book, It Starts With Me. But I too, a lot of people talk to me about, you know, yoga and meditation. And when I talk about energy, becoming aware of an energy. So as an example, during COVID-19, I haven't been watching the news because that energy that is emitted, if you're, once you become conscious and aware, spiritually awakened, you can feel energy, and whether that, you know, fills your cup up, so to speak, or depletes your cup, whether it makes you anxious or not, fearful or not. So I'm really conscious, and I know you are, about energy. So I've been choosing not to watch the news because the energy it radiates isn't doing anything for me. So whereas like, as an example, I'd rather like read a book, do some meditation, go for a walk, do some yoga. And not that any of that at all is religious based. It's just health based and wellness based. And I think what I'm seeing now is spirituality is just becoming more about your health and wellness, not about angels or crystal balls or, you know, nothing woo-woo, like kind of. So that way now every person, regardless of their religion, can really just go, okay, all of this is just about self-care, self-worth, self-compassion, self-love, health and wellness. So I kind of feel that COVID-19, as devastating the amount of upset, trauma, losses, you know, people sadly have lost loved ones and businesses and not being able to travel and all of these things. But I feel that one of the greatest things to come from it is the importance of self-care, self-love, self-compassion, self-development. For me to see people reading books again has been the greatest gift I've seen, because people have learnt to slow down and to make more time to develop themselves instead of wasting all their time worrying about what everybody else is doing on Instagram. They're spending more time on focusing on their own self. So during COVID-19, like obviously you talk to so many people, you're in the UK. What are some of the things you have been doing to help with your own self-care rituals?
It's been a bit of a roller coaster, COVID-19, because like you were saying, well, first for me, it was like really great because I suffer with FOMO, like I think a lot of us do. Like the whole social media thing gives you FOMO because everyone's doing all these fabulous things and looking fabulous and everything. And that was taken away. So those first like maybe 4 weeks, I was in heaven because I got back to, when you have that time for yourself, I got back to the things that I really love, like creating art and dancing and singing and just all of the things that I never make time for. So that was what it was like at the beginning. And then, like, say in the last 4 weeks, because in England we're just coming out of lockdown now ish, it's been a lot harder for me, and so I've had to be more aware of my self-care practices, and the kind of things that I've been doing are yoga in the morning. Specifically for me, I find the peaceful kind of yoga is the yoga that benefits me, not the sporty one, like yin yoga, relaxation kind of yoga, and making sure that my diet is good. I follow a guy called The Medical Medium. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's fantastic, especially for a time like this, because he has been talking about viruses forever, and that all these mystery illnesses, I'm doing quotes with my fingers, mystery illnesses basically are things that the medical community don't know what causes them. So some cancers, what else, like digestive issues, autoimmune diseases, these are actually all caused by viruses, is the information that he's channeling through. And that's just so fascinating. So yeah, I've been drinking my celery juice every morning and eating loads of fruit and taking my vitamins. And also I find a lot of benefit from journaling, because our thoughts create our feelings. So if the first thing I do, if I'm feeling not very good in myself, if I'm feeling a little bit depressed or a little bit anxious, I go to the page and I write down what am I thinking about, what is creating this feeling in me, and then I look at that thought and do work on that thought, and create a positive mantra to change it around in my head, and then that really shifts things for me. So they're the kind of self-care practices that I've been mainly focusing on in lockdown.
Yeah, I love how you do the journaling. I love journaling as well, and I found that really beneficial even with my mum when she was in the coma in hospital. And I've been journaling for many, many years, but I find journaling a way, like if I find like I'm either too anxious or I can't sleep, or it was a really stressful period, it goes up and down like everything in life. But I find that journaling to get the thoughts out, to process it, and then, like you say, assess it. It's just so therapeutic. And you also, in your self-care daily playbook, have that activity in there, which is amazing.
I wanted to put everything in my self-care playbook that I've learned throughout the years about self-care, basically, which is reflecting on your thoughts, looking after your body, looking after your spirit, putting joy first, putting yourself first. So that process is in there.
Yeah, because you talk about the thoughts create. So the thoughts you're thinking, whether that be negative, positive, or neutral. Yeah. And then the other question you have in the playbook is, what situation are these thoughts creating and maintaining? And do I need to change or adjust any of these thoughts? And write out a supportive thought to counteract this negative one. Mm-hmm. And then this is your affirmation today. So that can be applied to anything, isn't it? So as an example, okay, so many people are really stressed out about work. Yeah. Like, am I going to have this job? Am I going to lose my job? So if that thought is just sort of happening over and over, and it's not processed, as in, like, I find writing that out, that thought, and getting it out can just be so therapeutic. And then when you realize it's a fear-based thought, that's creating that anxiety, and then changing the thought to then another action, like, that can really help someone, can't it? In
100%
situation, even if it's like, I think my boyfriend might drop me. You know what I mean? Like, it can be any kind of thought, positive or negative, but it's normally the negative thoughts that create the anxiety or the depression or that unsettledness, and getting that and getting it out. That's why I love your playbooks and what you've shared there, is because someone out there, if they're feeling really stressed, they could do that self-care ritual then, isn't it? Just journal out what's your thought.
Yeah, what
get
are you
it
thinking
out.
And like for me, another way to say that is,
Yes,
what's upsetting you. So like, write what's upsetting you. So like you said, it could be, oh God, I've lost my job, I don't know what to do for money, or my boyfriend's gonna dump me, I can just tell, or like, I'm really scared about getting COVID and dying, or someone that I love dying. So that's your thoughts, and that is negative because it's making you upset. What situation is this thought creating or maintaining? It's creating or maintaining your absolute anxiety or depression over what you're thinking about. It's the thought that is creating those feelings. It's not the situation itself. So therefore, you've got the power to change your experience of this situation so that you can deal with it. And then, do I need to change or adjust this thought? Hell yeah, because I love myself and I don't want to feel that. And so then it's just a simple commitment to yourself to create a more positive thought. So like, affirmations could be like, I'm not depressed, but that's not going to work because it's got the negative focus. So you need to create a supportive thought to replace the current one. For example, so if you're thinking, oh God, I'm going to lose my job and not be able to pay my rent or whatever, the new thought might be, there's an even better job that I'm going to find and I'm going to be able to pay my rent. And like, it's a matter of trusting yourself, because this exercise is also kind of about talking to your inner guidance. It's going within, and because there is a part of us that has all the answers and it's totally connected to everything and everyone. So it's about going in and accessing that wisdom, and that's kind of the place that you get to when you create the positive mantra and you start reciting it. And if the positive mantra feels too untrue, just make it a step down. So if you don't believe that there's another job out there for you, say, I'm willing to try to believe that there's another job out there for me, because it just shifts you 10% towards a more positive feeling. And then you're more open to what might come.
I love that, because I've also thought, and people who are listening in, you could probably resonate with this. When you think about something, this even happened to me today. A lady was like, oh my goodness, I was just thinking about you a little bit earlier. And then here I appeared. And I kid you not, I really feel what you think, and the energy, the thought and the energy that goes with it is what you transmit. So if there's something you really want to happen, whether that be you really want money to be able to pay your rent, if you can start thinking that way, I'm going to always find some way to have a roof over my head or to pay for this, or like, there's always a way where I won't be left out in the cold, because I've got so many amazing friends and family. And
you don't need to know the how though as well, because getting into that positive state is like, it opens up your energy for those positive things to come in, or for you to get the intuition to call that person, look at that Facebook message, like, you know, and then because there's something guiding us towards the light. And you just need to get into the positive frame of mind, the open energy, so that you can be guided. Because if you're in a tight ball and you're just not looking, you're not going to get it. But if you open up and relax, then
I love this because I heard this from another spiritual guru who said, if we get too, and you've just talked about this, if we get too narrow where we're trying to do the how, then we do miss that inner guidance or universe sending us messages, or we're so focused on this path, like plan A, that all of these other opportunities could be happening, but because we're so fixated on something, we miss it. So we should be more open then to receiving whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I always talk about, like, it's about really creating a lifestyle of self-care. You can't just do self-care when you feel rubbish. If you create a lifestyle, it's like you're preparing your energy for all this good, so that when horrible stuff does happen, you've got the tools that you can go to, and you've already got the slightly more open energy. And even if you forget, because I always forget, even though this is my job and I've been on this path for 20 years or whatever, I'm constantly forgetting and getting in my ego mindset about things. And it might be a couple of days before I remember, oh, hang on a sec, let's shift, because I don't want this to be my experience. So yeah, I always like to think of the immersion thing, like set up your daily routine to have lots of love and positivity, and then you've got a better chance of being open to receive that guidance. And
yeah, you're so right, because what I've learned is it's easy to do things when life is really easy, like life is good. What gets more difficult when life gets tough is showing up for that walk, which I know recently I'm like, it's so important through the good and the not so good, the challenging times, to continue that self-care rituals and make sure you're still filling up your own cup. You're sticking to the "it starts with me" mantra, but turning up for yourself first before everyone else. And what I have learned is I'm really grateful that I've done the self-care during the good times, so that when COVID-19 kicked in, so many people were not prepared, because they had done like maybe walking and physical exercise, but never had done anything sort of like mentally for meditation or yoga or journaling. And so there's been a really big shift now for people who are introducing meditation or mindfulness, becoming more present, reading. And there was a massive shift to doing courses, which I love how you've got that online course, because one of the things I normally love to do each year is go on an actual retreat. So travel somewhere to do a retreat, like a wellness retreat. Now, as you know, our retreats are happening at home at the moment. And can you tell anyone, one of the things people have been telling me is, okay, this year I had a dream that was very specific. Now their whole dream and plan for 2020 and maybe a few more years ahead has completely been turned upside down. And can you just talk a little bit more about your online course? So if someone is having to revisit, create a brand new dream, or revisit their dreams, reassess, reevaluate, a little bit more about the online course that you've created and what they can join in and do.
Yeah, so firstly, if your dream has been crushed by 2020, then I'm so sorry for you. And my dreams have been crushed as well. But the thing is, we can always pivot. So, you know, just because your dream hasn't gone the way that you hoped, there's another version of your dream that you can create. So back in January, or February, I launched my Dream Fuel Retreat. And it's an online course, but it's kind of set up so that you can do it in one day, just like a retreat at home. And the kind of focus of the retreat is to let go of the past, let go of just, okay, let's start afresh. Align with what you really want now. So get really clear about what you actually love, what your soul wants to do. Maybe that dream before wasn't quite exactly the right thing for you. And the big focus of the course is then shifting mental resistance about this dream. So a lot of us, me for sure, I come up against resistance every time I want to create something new. So every single product I create, every course I do, everything I do, my mind always says, you're not good enough, you're an imposter, no one will want this, it's not good enough, all that stuff. So this retreat has a lot of mind work about looking at what your resistance is and then working on it and kind of protecting yourself around, because it'll inevitably pop up. So there's lots of exercises to help you process it when it does pop up so that it doesn't hold you back. Also, we create a really detailed master plan of your dream, and then you take the next step or take the first step, and then fill your calendar with loads of joyful activities like we were talking about before. Create a self-care routine, an immersion, so that you can be best prepared to step into goodness when it arrives and be best prepared to process the challenges when they arrive. So yeah, the Dream Fuel Retreat is an online course. It's got 6 sessions, and if you're excited about like a dream, or you don't even know what your dream is anymore, then this course will help guide you through the process and just get going with it. So it's a really nice thing to do in lockdown, actually.
Yeah, because lockdown was such a great opportunity to do self-development, online courses, online yoga classes, meditation, reading books, and so many amazing things. One of the things that came up from actually one of our listeners and blog readers, Spaitgirl, is there are women out there who have a dream. As an example, they love craft. They want to do craft blog. They got children, but and they want to go online, but they're so frightened of what other people think. They're also really scared about negative comments towards them, people bullying them by the way they look, because they might not be that perfect Instagram site. They just have so many insecurities, fears. And I always remind them that it's their life. They have one life in particular, but they should do what makes them happy and what is true to their heart, because I always find it would be just such a disappointment and shame that they would miss out on the next 20 years of creating craft that they love. And maybe if they're not wanting to go 100% public, like I still feel that they could just start out small. And I often don't believe some of their insecurities or concerns might not even arise. Like they might not even get online bullied, or people might not, think they're not, so there's just so much going on. But for someone out there who maybe has all of these concerns about what might happen if they put their work out there, because you've obviously put a lot of work out there over the many years, cards, books, and as a creative, when you're so passionate about something, you only want the good feedback, but I've learned you're going to get a lot of not so good feedback. Like you can't make everybody happy. It's not your job to make other people happy or people like you. But any feedback or ideas for those women or men or boys who are struggling with worrying about what other people think of their work or of them, so then they're not going to do their dream?
100%, because like I'm feeling a bit teary as you're talking about that, because that is me basically, and I know I'm where I am now, but like a great thing about online is it is so scary to put stuff out there, and I still have this now. I make stuff and I don't tell anyone about it. I just list it on my website, and I've done that recently, and I know I'll promote it, but maybe in a month. But like it's so real. Those feelings are horrible, and they absolutely crush your dreams because they hold you back. And you can't let that happen, because like you were saying, life, they're here to live, and they're here to experience joy and happiness, and this is what's going to lead them to their joy and happiness, because this is what their inner guidance is guiding them towards. Your inner guidance tells you where you can be happy by that feeling of inspiration and that feeling of joy. So these craft things that they want to make, they just got to do it. So, and the other thing is, so all along my journey, I've been petrified of what other people think. And that's what's so good about online. You don't have to necessarily, so like my thought is open an Etsy shop, you know, the platform Etsy.
Yes.
I've got
perfect.
an Etsy shop. And you don't have to show up like on social media necessarily. Just start your Etsy shop and start putting your beautiful creations out there. Start really small. I started so small. I printed a batch of Happi cards, my first product, and sold them to my mum's friends, and went to the craft fairs, had a little table. No one's going to say anything horrible if you just start small. I think the horrible stuff starts, well, maybe for some people, when you start to like really put yourself out there. And I haven't really got to that stage yet because it's so scary. But I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely run a, you know, baby business without having to kind of deal with that. And the other thing is, it's 100% about your self-worth. So alongside, you've just got to do it. You've just got to take those baby steps. Work on your self-worth, because these are just thoughts that you have about yourself that are based in fear, and they're not true. It's just we think they're true, and we don't realize that we've got a choice whether we want to believe these thoughts or not. So you've got to do some work on your thoughts, because it's only your thoughts that are holding you back, and that's not reality. So it's this false idea that's holding you back. So alongside, like, yes, go for it. Create your dreams, create your beautiful things, put them out there in a small way. You know, it doesn't have to be, I'm on Oprah, here's all my dreams. Just do it small and as much as you can handle. Just don't not do it. And alongside it, commit yourself to a self-development, you know, commitment. Get some books on, like Louise Hay is the best for feeling low self-esteem, low self-worth. I wrote my book Boost exactly for that person, because that person is me. Uplifting thoughts for motivation, happiness and confidence. So fill your mind and your life with that kind of self-development stuff alongside starting to put your little business out there. That's how I've done it. And that's, I think, all you can do, really.
Yeah, I love those words of wisdom. I think start small. Craft is really good. If it comes to the modeling part, which I've told a lot of children or young girls, that's always going to be like it's a self-critical, it's a very critical industry. But if you're picking something that's very like craft, is like, that's always going to be a safer option than as an example, like influencing and things like that. That's sort of like, I call it show business now. It's show business. But back in the day, I know we've talked about this before, blogging was very much writing, connecting from the heart, had nothing to do with the way you looked. It was all about your thoughts, feelings, and sharing a message that could empower someone else or make someone else feel good or teach someone something. It had nothing to do with the way a blogger looked. So I think that's why I'm loving podcast and audio, because it sort of takes me back to that very fundamental why I loved blogging, because it was about storytelling, connecting, sharing, and it had nothing to do with the way I looked or the way, you know, the readers looked, or it had nothing to do with vanity, looks, ego, engagement rates, you know, metrics, followers, brands paying you. Like, we didn't start going into being a creative to be paid per post based on, you know, how many followers on Instagram. So I think COVID-19 is a really good opportunity for people who maybe have that craft passion or a passion, and it gives them an opportunity to start it in an era when you're going to come into being creative, and it's definitely not going to be about money now. Because I can tell you right now, brands are hurting. Brands are hurting. They're not selling. Retail's not being great. The travel industry's stopped. So if you do get into being creative now or go down that path, but you're starting for the passion and not in an era of money, I think they're going to just come out really good in the end, because so many people went into being creative or an influencer, not all, but some. As soon as the money came into it, there was a massive boom, especially when they published how many followers, you know. I think it was 0 to 10,000, that'd be $100 a brand had to pay an influencer, and it went up and up and up and up. But I think COVID-19 could help at least go back to, it's not about doing something for the money, just do it for the passion, do it for the love, and don't be fearful that you're going to get bullied. I think what I'm seeing on social media is there's a massive shift now for people to love each other. There was this big thing, was it in the UK as well? We're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all supported. We're all in this together. Now, what I have noticed in Australia and maybe a little bit globally is people are starting to go back to work. So some people are saying they're getting back into bad habits, which is a trap. So when they were at home in lockdown, it was really easy to keep the house clean, to work from home, to do the online yoga, to read the book at night. So I think the challenge now moving forward is going to be keeping up our self-development whilst juggling going back to work, whilst juggling the kids going back to school. And now this is where it's going to become the next challenge. So like, I even know myself, I'm loving reading books again. Absolutely making sure every time before I go to bed, I can read a little bit of a book. This is a challenge because that was a really good practice I developed in COVID-19. I had way more time on my hand. I was not traveling anywhere. So I was literally at home. But the challenge is now that we're starting to reopen. For the listeners, I'd love for you to comment on this. But will you continue to do some of the amazing things you did in lockdown? Because I think that's going to be the next challenge. Would you agree, Fran?
Yes, definitely. And it's already started to shift, hasn't it? Like you were saying, people are starting to go back to work, and like my town is starting to become alive again. I live in a tourist town, and I can just tell like slightly more people are coming in now, and it's starting to open up. And it's just going back to those habits, isn't it? You've got to make a commitment, and like it starts with the why. Like, why is this important to you? How's it going to change your life? Once you've got your focus on the why, it's then easier to commit to creating that habit. Commit to, like, I don't know, waking up half an hour earlier and doing the yoga or doing the meditation. So that little like commitment. And I know that's so hard because I don't have children. So, and I know from my friends that have children, it just seems like they have absolutely no time. So it is a challenge. But
you're right. And what I'm finding is COVID-19 allowed, especially the mothers, to really practice more self-care than they ever had, because they were told they had to stay at home. And the mothers had been saying for some time, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time at home. And that thought that they manifested 100% happened. And I was like, oh my goodness, people have been saying this over and over. I was like, I'm seeing this play out so much. And there was a really big spiritual leader in India who suggested that every year, right across the world, everyone should stay home in lockdown for 3 good weeks minimum to practice on becoming a better, healthier, happier, more conscious, awakened person. And I thought, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, such a good idea.
Like, the focus was on catching up with family, checking in. All of the, I found on social media, what was really interesting is all the competing, the competition was totally blown out of the water, 100%, because people were like told they had to post 3 photos a day, every day post photos on Instagram, so there was so much content happening and people were just producing, and no one had time to consume. So when people slowly were like, oh, I'll just post 2 or 3 posts a week, we were all like able to keep up. I really hope that pace continues, because I've found like I've been able to read people's captions again. I'm not getting bombarded with gazillions. The other thing I've found is, would you agree with this, Fran? Some people get really anxious when they spend so much time spending a couple of hours looking at, as an example, influencers flittering around to the Maldives. That would be me, one of them, which I always like to remind them. That's why I do my stories on exactly what's happening in my life, so they really know, okay, was a percentage of time, like I tell them, this was captured on this day. So I could post that photo today, but in my day-to-day life, this is also what's happening right now. But some people can get really caught up on seeing the perfect couples. They're so romantic, they're leaning back. It's like something from Broadway, but at a resort. Or they're seeing just perfection, and they spend hours and hours and hours and hours. And look, we've all been guilty of it, and we can feel a bit overweight. Life can suck for us, and we can see someone flittering around, in private jet planes, drinking champagne, smiling. And I always say to people, if looking at other people's lives make you feel like shit, tune into that energy and be aware of what makes you feel not so good. And then as a result, like, I would suggest to spend like more time focusing inwards on your own self and focusing more on developing your own life, improving your own life, making yourself feel healthier, because I don't feel that and we've all been guilty of it, where we can get really caught up in looking, because there's so many videos, so many photos, and you can just, it's like a whoop, you just get just sucked right in.
Yeah, and addicted, and
and then an hour can go by, but then you could have spent like an hour reading a book.
And think about the outcome. Oh my God. Like, when I get lost in a social media hole, yes, I always feel like stagnant and toxic at the end. Whereas if you spend an hour on yourself doing self-care, you feel so inspired, so light, and like ready to help everyone else around you, like to have so much more energy.
And I have learned this the hard way. I kid you not. I've learned this the hard way, because many years ago, there wasn't many bloggers. When I first started, there was 5 bloggers back in the day in Australia. Over the last couple of years, it's exploded and boom. And what happens is then when people leave a comment, you sort of thinking, oh, who is this and what do they do? And, you know, you look at their page and you comment back, but then you can just be, say, like, get sucked in depending on your industry or depending on your passion. And then you're looking at what's happening in this industry or in this passion. And then that's when you can get really just completely lost, like disconnected from your true self, and
that's the word,
because you're just bombarded with media, photos, advertising, so much, and it's too much. So that's when I'm now learning I'm my best self by not looking at what other people are doing and starting to focus inwards 100%. I've gone like back to the old way of when I was most happiest, like with the it starts with me mantra, like go back inwards, focus on getting healthy, happy within, focusing on me, in terms of well-being. Do you find that helps as well? Like switching from definitely. That ego kind of, the ego gets sucked in, doesn't it? The ego wants to know, what is everyone else doing? Like it's human nature. What's happening here? And blah, 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 you know, and it's sort of, it gets drawn in. We all have that tendency to get sucked in, don't we? To looking at what everyone else is doing. Like it's like looking at, you know, keeping up, looking up, as, you know, we are so inquisitive, we're so curious, but looking at 1,000 people, what they're up to, and then you've missed out 10 minutes of meditating for your own health.
But it might be a good idea to like create a list of like, get an A4 piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side at the top right, activities that make me feel light or fill me up. And then on the right-hand side, activities that make me feel drained or shit about myself. And then just give it a go. Like think through your life, everything that you do, and then maybe things that you don't do that you'd like to add in, and have that somewhere and create your life around the happy list, not the negative list. And if you're finding that you're getting in a hole on social media, unfollow those people. I've unfollowed anyone that makes me drained. So now if I look at Instagram, it's just either my friends or people in the high vibe light workers world. So my Instagram is actually really happy.
And like I agree because I'm not into sexuality, like sex and stuff. Like sex sells doesn't work for me. I don't give a crap how much sex people want to sell to me, whether it's a girl, whether it's a guy, whether it's a couple, a brand, don't care. It doesn't sell me shit. But like I can,
apart from Love Island.
But like I love reading positive affirmations, and I love illustration, like drawings. I'm fascinated by people who can illustrate. That's why I love what you do too, and draw beautiful pictures and messaging. And I found like even COVID-19, if I just consume particular pages that I love, that I can learn from or feel good, that the whole Instagram space can be really amazing. And yeah, it's just like, you're right. It's about using the tool to make you feel good. And Instagram's a tool, like I say to people, a communication tool. But everybody has an energy and a vibe. They're going to vibe in a really positive way and make you feel really good, or vibing that you need. But like, you've got to be conscious, don't you, of what is it you need and what makes you feel good.
Yeah. And that's a big part of the self-care playbook as well. And self-care in general is about self-reflection, isn't it? It's about, who am I? What are these thoughts in my head? Is that me, or is that my ego? Like, what do I enjoy? Like, it's all about that, isn't it? And when you fully know yourself, that's why, like, you hear older people talking on podcasts of like, oh yeah, I got to 60 and now I just don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just doing what I love. Like, I was listening to an interview yesterday with, I think she was like 79 actually, and she was saying all that, and it sounds brilliant. And my mum is like that. She's 63, I think, now, and she's like, oh yeah, I don't care anymore what people think. I'm just going to do what makes me happy. And so I think, you know, once you get to a place in your life where you know yourself and you've had so much experience, you're just like, I'm just not going to give any energy to
yeah, you're so right, because the other thing is it was only this week, like there was this big thing, might have been a couple of years ago, or it still happens to this day, where someone would do something and it's like there's no point getting upset. Like if you're frustrated, like this happened to me many a times and it still does, where people will see me in the Maldives and then they might get upset because they really want to go, and I'm like, but you can. So empowering them, you can go. If you really want to go, you will always find a way. Like you will work out, first of all, how much you need to save. If it's so important to you and it takes 10 years or 20 years, if it's absolutely something you want to do, I truly believe you will make it happen. And it can happen. So it's just turning their mindset of like, well, if I can go to the Maldives, so can you. Like anybody can. You are in charge of your destiny, your thoughts, you can create it.
Yeah.
So kind of like that really helps people who like, because a lot of girls will just write, I'm so jealous of what you're doing. I'm so jealous of your life. And it's like, well, don't be, because you can too go on your dream holiday, but you're going to have to really go without and save and have a plan. And like even saving up for flights, so there's just not going to come on a silver platter to you. Whether people think if you look good and pretty, you're going to get everything in life. There's this conception, but it's not necessarily true. There are many people traveling to the Maldives, paying for their flights, paying for their holidays, and then just taking photos and posting it on Instagram, you know, whether it's a holiday or for their blog. Or so would you agree that because you've got the course, do you believe too, like if people are really frustrated, that a lot of it just goes down to the planning and the actioning and getting the plan? Like they got the idea,
Yeah,
but then they're like, that fear and ego kicks in, like,
yeah. I think it's to do with the resistance, isn't it? Like thinking that they can't do it, or thinking that they can't afford it, or
that's it.
It just holds you back with everything in life.
That's completely it. And then when I say to them, you do realize you can do this, and then you see them like 2 years later going on that holiday, like, oh my God, I've made it, like I'm here. And it's so like rewarding. Whereas you're right, you can pretty much create anything you want to do. Same with writing a book, isn't it? Like I sat down and wrote the book. Now I thought about writing a book. I've spoken to you about this because of Louise Hay being on the Oprah Winfrey show when I was 8. But throughout my years, I thought about writing the book. But it's the same, isn't it? For anyone tuning in, if you want to write a book, the first thing you have to do is actually write it. You have to make time to write. Because the book's not going to write. It's like everything happens, don't you believe, with action, doing.
100%. Like, it's not like, did you get your book published by someone, or is self-published?
I got self-published through Hay House.
The Bell.
Yes.
Balboa, yeah.
And the reason I went through them was purely because I was just an absolute, Louise Hay inspired me at 8, and I loved her work. And it was just, I wanted to go through Louise Hay's publishing. And purely because of that. My mum's a massive fan of Louise Hay's work, and we'd always had every Oprah Winfrey book club spirituality, like I was reading Eckhart Tolle, all of that stuff. So yeah, but there's a lot of people that message me about writing a book. Where their downfall is, they're not writing it. They're actually not even putting a pen to a paper or typing it or even audioing it or anything.
In my course, in the plan section, it's like, okay, you need to actually plan this now, and then you need to commit to it, and you actually write a schedule. So that would be covered. Like, yes, you absolutely have to do the work. Like, we're both self-published. You don't have to wait for someone in a suit to say, yep, I choose you. Here's your, few grand advance, and I choose you and you're great, and here you go. Authors, like, I don't know, you don't have to wait to be picked, basically. Pick yourself. Do it yourself. There are so many opportunities online now to sell your book. There's all the social media platforms. There's all the e-commerce platforms like Etsy, who have massive marketing themselves, so you don't do the marketing. There's getting your own website. Do it yourself.
Yeah, like I bought your book. You're in the UK, and I bought your book in at Dimmicks in Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. And you can, like, my dream was like you too, to get it on into that spirituality motivational section. And here's, the Tony Robbins book and the Deepak Chopra and Gabby Bernstein. And I go in and, like, here are our books too. So it's really, I think that's really why I wanted to catch up with you too, because I know there's so many people out there that have a story or a passion, or they've got some really amazing lessons learned from grief or loss, or these stories, whether they've been looking after their loved one who even has mental health issues or Alzheimer's or dementia. Like, there are so many things they're learning that they can write about, but it's the doing part. So this is
let
amazing.
those things fuel you as well, because I've had different parts of my journey that's fueled different parts of my work, but a big part is anxiety and depression. And someone very close to me had depression for 10 years with like multiple suicide attempts and everything like that. And I now use that to fuel me to, like, basically not save those people, but I really want to save those people. I really want to help them, because there are tools out there to help them get them out of it and even prevent it. So use whatever you're going through as fuel to create what you want to create.
I think you're right, because like anything, modern medicine does a certain amount, but we know 100% for good health, regardless, it's got to be the walking, the breathing work, the thoughts. When you learn you're more than your thought, you can challenge a thought you have. Like you said, you can have the thought, you can reset the thought to work in your favor. And
ultimately, you don't need to worry too much about getting things right as well, because life does guide you. As long as you stay open and you stay reflective and you keep reading, you keep learning, you don't have to worry about knowing it all. Like, I find my ego often thinking, oh God, but how am I going to fix that situation? I'll get there and you'll get there. It's a journey. I just picked a happy card because it reminded me of what I was talking about. I don't know if that's back to front for you.
Yeah,
but
it says your suffering and pain cultivates gifts that will make your future golden. Yeah, that is so amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, a lot of people are really suffering. Mental health is at an all-time high due to COVID-19. And so many are suffering, like the loss of their routine, their life. Like, I even know in the travel industry, many people are suffering, even a lot of travel bloggers, just the adjusting to a complete, utter change. But I think it's just accepting it is what it is. And there's not much more you can do. Like, it doesn't matter how much I think about, oh, I just want to get on a plane and go international. Well, guess what? You can't. So I could just sit here stewing all day, thinking about it, getting myself in a downward spiral, bringing myself right down. Or I
was just going to say, the thing to remember is all these goals that we have about actual things in life, that's all great, and go for it. And I'm not going to stop creating things in my life. But ultimately, nothing outside of ourselves is going to make us happy. And even if we get that holiday, or we get that man, or we get that house, or we get that job, you're still going to be the same human inside with all the upsets and issues that you've got. Nothing outside of yourself is going to heal that. So that's another reason why self-care is like the ultimate thing to do, because you're healing yourself from the inside out. And that's what Louise Hay teaches, doesn't she? You need to heal your life, and then you'll be happy. And then you can do anything and be happy.
Yeah, well, that's right, because you can, once you've got your self-care mojo going on, as I always say, and you've got that, just like it's your anchor, it's your life, it's your wow, you know, it feels so good for going for that morning walk, or practicing the gratitude of watching the sunrise, or so grateful for that cup of tea in the morning, or so grateful. You know, it's that gratitude, and that is life. Like, grateful for your breath, grateful that you are blessed to have 2 legs and you can walk and move. Like, even grateful, I think sometimes we even forget. I'm so grateful, and you would agree, that we have even the ability, the vision, you know, vision to see the blue sky, vision to see the turquoise water, vision. Like, we sometimes even forget, like, and I think because I'm spending more time at hospital, or more time with elderly people whose vision is slowly deteriorating, but I'm actually, people are expressing, you know, how lucky are we to have this vision. We sometimes, maybe get a bit sidetracked with body image visions or marketing visions, but overall, to be able to like look at, you know, you've got this beautiful pink book, it makes you feel good. Like, would you agree, like, you practice so much gratitude, don't you, to really keep you grounded?
Yeah, 100%. Gratitude is just so life-changing. It basically switches you out of the ego mindset, which is judgmental, and pops you in the love mindset, which is appreciation. When you're appreciating something, you can't be judgmental. You're in the love mindset. So it's so powerful, and it's so simple. And it's great to use when you're feeling rubbish, because you can be grateful for like the basic things. At least I'm grateful for my friends and the sunshine and stuff like that. And then even as a deeper practice, when you're even feeling good and you're on your path, say you're creating your dreams and you're coming up against a bit of something, using gratitude to shift your mind is amazing. Also, like when you're, you know, I was talking about stuck in that social media hole. And that's very judgmental mindset. It's judging them and judging yourself constantly. But if you use gratitude, I'm so grateful that I can see that vision and see what I'd like to create in my life. It's just that shift away. You're doing the exact same thing from the outside, but your internal has shifted, and it changes everything.
I love that, because what I'm learning is, you know how you talked about judging. So the younger generation, I've got 2 younger nieces, but I spend a lot of time with younger generation. They have learned to judge a person, and this is globally, and this is due to apps where we have to like. We either like this person or we don't. I'm either going to like you or not. So when they're quite young, they're developing a mindset of, I like you or I don't. And then how many followers does she have? Oh no, she's not very popular. Oh no, she's very popular because of that. So they're learning, judging a person based on the way they look, dress, act, followers. So whereas see, you and I grew up in an era where we didn't even I don't even think I cared what anybody looked like or what they dressed, or I didn't give a shit. Can I say that on my own podcast? I honestly did not give a shit the way they dressed or looked. That as a child, I did not care about that. So it's the young kids now are learning that, like having to size someone up, size someone up for their hair or the fashion. Are they on trend or not? So it's really interesting, but we too can get caught up in that, because I even know with adults, I hear adults, the first time they'll go, oh, okay, now this person has 1 million followers. And I go, okay, now can you tell me, what do they do? I don't give a shit about how many millions followers do they have. What is it they do and give to the world? Like, who are they? I'm not interested in the followers, but what is it they offer? What good do they do in the world? What are they actually doing? So it's really interesting. And I've been trying to teach the younger kids that, like, if I had my way, back in the old days when blogging was there, the like buttons and judging was completely didn't happen. It was like a piece of content. You looked at it, consumed it, blah. You might have written a comment. But like, if I had my way from day dot, there would have never been a visual how many followers people had, because that's judgmental. Popularity. I called Instagram the world's largest popularity contest. I was like, welcome everybody to Instagram. You've now entered the world's largest popularity contest. People will be looking at you and they'll be judging if they even like you or not. They'll either give you a like or not. Soon your ego will be crushed. You're not going to feel so popular at the age of 43 or 40 or 21. And I was kind of like telling everyone, welcome to the popularity contest. But you can opt out of that, because you can just decide, I'm not going to give a shit about my likes unless you're trying to get money from brands, or I'm not going to put my self-worth into how many followers. But teaching now the younger generation of like having to just accept all is going to be a really big message, because you can see, like, at the moment there's been so many protests. People want to all be inclusive, of all age, of all colour. So one of my ideas, Fran, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, was, well, let's stop seeing people like, so I look at people as energy, more as an energy base. Like, what are they vibing? Does it feel good? Does it make me feel good? So I'm not really looking at people as in a particular body shape or size or even a color. I'm like looking at, I'm not even looking, I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm spending more time feeling the energy. Would you think that would be a really good shift for people?
That would be an amazing shift if we could teach that in school. And I think, honestly, people in everyday life, not everyone, but once we get over ourselves a bit, like let's say late 20s or maybe 30, you are more drawn to, your friends and your partner. They're the ones that light you up. They're not because they dress a certain way or I don't know, we do naturally, ultimately, after we've got over ourselves, we're attracted to the people that light us up. or maybe it's just a matter of consciousness. Maybe it's not an age thing, just the more kind of conscious and aware you become of what's what in the world, the more you just want people, there's a light around you instead of anyone.
Yeah, you're right. And what you're feeling, like if you feel quite good within, like your gratitude, you're practicing your gratitude within, you're loving yourself, you're looking at everyone else like they're your brother, your sister. Like that was the conversation we had the other day, Fran, was here's the thing, like COVID-19's really shown us how fragile and precious life is. People get quite upset if someone else is happy and they're not happy, but they never get upset when someone else is sad. Like, you know, it can be like people can get really jealous at people when they see they're happy, but then they're like high-fiving, they're going through a really hard time, high five, you know, and it's kind of like a reflection more on if you're that person, what's going on within is you got to come to a place where you feel happy within, and then you can look at other people and go, well, they're happy, that's really good, and be happy for them, because someone else's happiness shouldn't take away from you. And I think if we spend more time inwards, going inwards, especially coming out of COVID-19, focusing more inwards and getting ourselves happier, healthier, more kind, more loving. Like when we stop judging other people, then that's even going to change insecurities. Like if I'm not judging someone, I don't have to, it's not an issue that they're going to be judging me, because it's a practice I'm not doing. So
and here's something interesting from the spirit class. When you, because ultimately we're one consciousness, we're one spirit, and we're just appearing as lots of different, you know, consciousnesses, lots of different people. When you have a judgmental thought about somebody, what's happening is, because there's one mind that's going back in and coming back around, and you subconsciously interpret that thought to be a judgment on yourself. So judgmental people and people that think negative thoughts about other people become depressed. Ultimately, they're upset, and that's just a brilliant reason to not.
And I 100% know this, because I know, like, even with me online, when I'm super fit, I'm like, yeah, like you feel great. And then when you put weight on, and then, you know, you see the beautiful marketing photos and you're like, you know, it just like, it's a wham, because you're realizing, oh, hang on a minute, that's what I used to be like in my 20s. And now, and then that's when you've got to deal with whatever, like you have to self-accept, okay, this is what's happening with me. It's no one else. Like, it's no one else's fault. You know, it's such an inward self-acceptance, self-reflection. It always goes back to you. And then it's like, well, if you're not happy, it's a sign that you've got to get healthier. It's a sign that you need to get walking and healthier and eat better. And then eventually,
like do joy activities. What did you used to love when you were a kid? Do that.
Dancing, singing, like having fun. Now, Fran, we could talk for hours, literally, about social media, ego. We all have it. Like, I'm completely like open and honest. We can get sucked into looking at Instagram and looking at everyone and comparing. And I think if we have any message, and you, Fran, might want to finish off on this, but my message would be, especially after COVID, there is going to be a really difference in countries. Like, we won't be traveling international. Other countries will be. my gut feeling is, because influencer marketing is very competitive, you know, ultimately a brand's only going to have one brand ambassador for them. And if they've got thousands of people going for it, it's going to get competitive. Some people are going to get a bit depressed if they see other people going on holidays to their favorite destination and they can't go. I'm thinking the key to all of this is focusing inwards, focusing on your self-care, accepting. You've got to accept there are going to be people that can do something and you might not be able to. And that's life. Like, you can't get everything you want. And that might be an international flight out of Australia. But, you know, I can really see this because I'm reading comments already where people are depressed because they've heard that people in Dubai are going to be able to fly, like as an example, to the Maldives. Well, good for them. Yeah. Isn't that great? Isn't it great that someone can at least fly to the Maldives? Like, it's super exciting because what that means is these people who rely on just on tourism are going to get people in. So if you start looking at a bigger picture and not just yourself, like, because ego is like, ooh, you know, I can't do that. Ego mind. This is where ego comes into it. Whereas when you come from that love space and go, oh, wow, these people are going to be happy, they're going on a holiday, that means this country is going to actually have people in the community working. Their country only relies on tourism. So I think just 100% self-care daily playbook is really going to help when you start to see different countries allowed to do different things. A lot of ego is going to come up, but this book here, I kid you not, Self-Care Daily Playbook, whatever's going on in your life, this is going to help, especially the thoughts. What thought am I having today? Is it positive, negative, neutral? How can I overcome the thought, change the thought, and just put it out there to the universe? And what about, Fran, like COVID-19, we're coming out of it. We're going to come up with some challenges. Even in the UK, you're going to start to see some countries allowed to do something due to COVID because they're COVID free. And we're going to have some countries that still are lagging with what they can and can't do. So we're not going to all be coming back on equal playing field. You know, like before COVID, we were all could do everything and anything we absolutely wanted with no restrictions. So any words of wisdom on this? Because this is the next phase.
Yeah, I think the words of wisdom that I come back to no matter what form of suffering I'm facing. Because basically, if you're jealous, you're suffering. You've got negative thoughts and they're making you feel rubbish. Like, ultimately, that's what matters. It's not about the other people, it's about you. You need to take care of you, so it's not about them. Forget about them. Look at the feeling. What's it brought up in you? And do the work on the feeling. And you can use the self-care playbook, or you can there's a great teacher called Byron Katie who does work on a thought, and it totally shifts your energy around the thought, and then you're free. Imagine like whatever you're suffering with right now, you can be free of that by just changing your mind about it. And Louise Hay, she offers great tools for this too. So yeah, that you're gonna, you might feel jealous and you might have all these thoughts, but do the work on the thought. Don't do the work on them. Forget about them. It's about you.
Love it.
Go within. Yeah.
Go within. Forget about them. Focus on you. And I agree, because just accept what you can do and embrace it. Enjoy it. And it's so amazing. It's going to be such an amazing time, because like even with me doing the podcast shows, absolutely loving it. Wouldn't have had this opportunity if COVID-19 didn't shut the international borders. I wouldn't be sitting here with you today, Fran, because I would not have the time, because I'd be traveling around and shooting and doing photos and filming and just go, go, go. So this for me is a massive gift from the universe. Massive, massive gift, because we now get to come together as light workers, as authors, as spirit junkies, and you know, wanting to help other people feel good from within. And it would not have happened without the pain and the suffering of not being able to travel. So I feel like there's always a gift in everything.
Definitely.
And
yeah,
and like, and do you know what? I don't know if I want to go back to all the traveling, because being at home is amazing. Like, I love travel and I love it, but just being at home and having a set routine, and you can go for your walk, you can do your yoga. Like, I've got my computer here and my podcast, and it's so amazing. And I think I was even living life to excessive. Like, seriously, no one needs 7 posts a day.
No, 7 posts.
7 posts a day, or should I say 7 posts a week? You know what I mean? Like, that's excessive. Like, the good old days is you did something once a week and we were content with that, and it was enough. And I just hope we slow down and we continue to slow down and just take it more easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Fran, we're going to say goodbye. This is probably going to go, this is why I called it a talk show. It's like a marathon podcast show that you're probably going to have to listen slowly over the week.
Yeah,
just
every
like
dinner,
a bite size, and like 1 hour here, 1 hour there, you know, like, we're just going to be your best friends on this podcast show. But now, Fran, how can everybody stay in contact with you and continue to be part of your community, part of your the Happi Empire?
So I've got a website and a newsletter connected to it. So my website is thehappiempire.com, and that's happy with an I instead of a Y, because it signifies inner happiness. So HAPPI. And there's a newsletter that you can sign up to on that website. And I'm also on Instagram. Instagram's probably my main social media platform. That's at the Happi Empire. Again, happy with an I. And I'm everywhere else really, but not like loads. So, you know, I'm on YouTube and Facebook and Pinterest, but mainly I'm on Instagram.
Yeah, love it. Well, thank you, Fran, for sharing your words of wisdom with the Spaitgirl community and the podcast show. Super, super grateful. Absolutely love talking with you, learning about your journey. Before we go, is your brother still into spirituality, and your mum?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Wow. So after you did that,
once you have your mind shifted, you can't go back, because you've expanded, you've raised your consciousness, and you've got these, you know, you've got a different view about the world. So you just go deeper and deeper, really.
Yeah, I know. And I feel like you're just beginning. Like, these online courses are amazing, and the books and the work. I can't wait to have you back on the show again, because you've got so much words of wisdom, books, tools, courses that can really help. And it's so nice just to talk about spirituality in a really day-to-day way, and combining it with social media and COVID-19 and just life. So refreshing. So I hope everyone tuning in that you have able to take away something from Fran today and myself, but also I can't wait to hear what you think. Let me know. I would love to hear if there is something that you're going to do this week or if you're going to sign up for the course at the Happi Empire, or if you're going to grab yourself a copy of the Self-Care Daily Playbook, which is one of my go-to, which I really love. And I've actually used this during this really crazy COVID-19 time and found it so useful. And that's why I want to share Fran's work on the Happi Empire. So we will say good night, good day, or hello, or wherever you might be in the world. We will just say so much love and light to you. Everything you need starts from within. It all starts with you by taking care of you and working on you. So thank you, Fran.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good night, good day. So thanks everyone for tuning into the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I would love for you to subscribe, to leave a rating and review, and tell someone you love to. Bye for now.